Hello everyone, welcome back to another Blu-ray review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Essential Fellini collection that is put out by the Criterion Collection, and this is a Blu-ray box set. It is Region A locked, and this is a set of 14 feature films by the great Italian director Federico Fellini, and this is just one of their many great box sets of movies that are essentially a film school in a box, if you will. And before we get into this set here, I just want to first apologize for being away for so long and for having this video come out way after the last video I did. Time seems to move very, very quickly these days, and I took about a month and a half off just to kind of regroup and reset for the new year, reinvigorate the engines and all that kind of stuff. But now that we're back into it, we're going to be just diving full on into a bunch of videos that I have planned for this year. And the first up here is something that I had promised back when I did, I believe, my previous video in the haul video for all the stuff I got at the Criterion Collection in November at Barnes & Noble, and this was chief among them. And as you can see here, this is a rather large set, both physically and just for cinema and movie collectors in general. So as you can see, the dimensions here are a bit square, a bit large. What I really love here is just the front cover is so robust and so just wonderfully designed. As you can see here on the front is the maestro himself, the master himself in Federico Fellini. Over here it says Essential Fellini, and just wonderful coloring, wonderful artwork here. And I really love the effort that Criterion has been making over the last couple of years of putting really great original artwork into their releases, specifically for their larger box sets of, kind of director, filmmaker-centric sets. And on the back here is actually a list of not only all the special features, but all the movies as well. And before I show you that, I just want to read off all the movies. Like I said, it is 14 feature films, but there are a lot of things to go through here, so please excuse me if this is a bit of a longer video than my videos are usually. So first up here is Variety Lights, The White Sheik, I Vitelloni, La Strada, Il Bidone, Knights of Cabiria, La Dolce Vita, 8.5, Juliet of the Spirits, Fellini Satyricon, Roma, Amarcord, And the Ship Sails On, and then lastly, Intervista. These films range from 1950 to 1987, so a wide, huge gamut of his filmography is in here. Let's take a look here on the back. As you can see here on the back is a blurb about just Federico Fellini and all the movies, as well as a list of most of the special features. I'm not sure if it's all of them, and of course a list of all of the movies that I just read off. Don't worry about if you can't really see that because of the focusing issues that I always constantly have, but I'll be going into all of these special features on each individual disc in the set, as well as which movie they pertain to. That's what really took me a long time, is to kind of really nail down getting a good list of all the special features on each release, because there is an abundance of them. So we will go into all of that. And also on the back here, behind the sleeve that you just saw, is kind of almost game board, if you will. If you understand board games, you'll understand what I mean. There's just a quick look at that, and it has all the movies in kind of this circle, almost pentagram-like thing, with each individual movie numbered to where they correspond within the set. So I thought that was a really, really cool thing. So moving back here on the front, the way in which this set opens is rather simple. Kind of opens almost like an old school Laserdisc or an LP album, a record album. Many of you may be familiar with those things. If you're not, you're about to find out how they opened. So the front pops off like this, and what you get here is kind of hard cardboard, or at least hard cardboard for the Criterion Collection. Their sets, unfortunately for me, that I have found is that they're not too sturdy when it comes to longevity of the durability of their cardboard. When it comes to sitting on a shelf for so long, these things tend to warp, and that's the main problems I've had with a lot of their sets, but it's not really a huge problem. But here is just the cover here. We'll put that aside for now. First up here, you get a lovely book that contains all of the discs. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to the packaging of this, I saw many people here on YouTube open this set and all the discs were dislodged. They were just flying all over the place. And unfortunately, with a package like this, that can happen, specifically when it comes to shipping to your home, and just all the movement that happens with it. It'll rattle around and the discs will come loose. You're about to see why that is probably the case really soon. Once again, on this inner book is wonderful artwork of all of the various characters that, you know, are in the Fellini films. And on the end here is this nice ribbon that you lift up the book and it comes right out. This comes right out like so, and we'll deal with the rest of the contents momentarily, but let's concentrate on this at the moment. On the back here are more characters from Fellini films, and when you open it itself is a wonderful mural of just everyone. I don't know if you can see all that, but yeah, that's all the wonderful artwork. And opening up the front here, you get all of the discs are in these kind of hubs. And this is where the problems ensue, because, as you can see, getting them out is a bit of a chore when it comes to just kind of digging them out of here. What happens in a lot of these cases is that sometimes the cardboard, you know, encasing that they're in can become worn, can tear, or these discs could slide way down and it'll be much difficult for them to get out. And for a lot of people, like I said, these discs came out during a shipment to their homes. The only disc I had that came out was 8.5. As you can see here are all of the discs. Sorry for all the glare. Sorry for trying to fit this in the frame. It is rather large. So you have the first 8 movies here, and then you flip it over and you have the remaining movies on the other side. And the 15th disc is actually a documentary about the actor Marcello Mastroianni, I Remember. And it came out in 1997, is 193 minutes long, so definitely extensive there. And Marcello Mastroianni is an all-time famous Italian actor. He was in 8.5, as well as La Dolce Vita, 2 of Federico Fellini's most well-known films. They're both in this set here, and I believe this is his character from 8.5. So when it comes to the overall packaging design, you do see its inherent flaws already, but I will say that it is functional for what it is. Each individual movie is in its own space. They're all spread out, so they're not rubbing up against one another. But like I said, when it comes to just getting the discs out, you do have to basically touch the parts of the disc that you really don't want to be touching, namely the back of the discs. And that is really unfortunate. Sometimes when you have sets that are designed like this, they have a little extra space or a little extra opening that you can use to kind of get in there, lift the disc up, and it comes right out. This unfortunately doesn't. But when it comes to the other parts of this set that I really like how each individual disc is a different color. I really love the font on each of the discs. Just to take one out, I'll take out the first one in Variety Lights, and as you can see here, just wonderful, cool, fonting. Each of them also have numbers on them as well. This is disc number 1, as you can see. Each individual hub, I believe that you saw, they all have the dates in which the movies came out. They all have the runtime. They all have whether the movie is in black and white or in color. And they all have what language the movie is in and what audio format the movie is in, which is also important. And they also have which aspect ratio the movie is in. For example, here is just going back to the first page. Here is La Strada, which is one of my favorite of his. As you can see here, there's a list of, all the stuff I just said. To be honest, I have been waiting for La Strada to come out on Blu-ray from the Criterion Collection for nearly a decade. I wanted this movie so much that I pretty much bought this set not only for this movie, but it was a huge driving force in me wanting to buy this set. Before I transition into going over all the kind of technical specs and all the special features, let's see what else is in the box. So within this box, we get a lot more reading material. And for those of you who don't like reading material, you may not be so happy, but as you can see here, there are 2 booklets or books that come in this set. First is the guide of the films, which basically go over each individual movie. There are, essays written in there and stuff like that. You also get all of the details when it comes to the special features on each disc is contained in here. That's really important because I was looking for where all that detail was on the set, and I'm hoping it wasn't just what we saw on the back, but it is all in here. I'll go into all of that very quickly. And on the other booklet here, this blue booklet, is more essays and more writing material, and let's just take a quick look at both of these here. This is one of the oddest dimensions of a Criterion booklet that I've ever seen. I've never seen one like this before. They've always ever been the more traditional rectangular or square book sizes that we're used to. This is different. And as you can see here, it opens up, you get a table of contents, and you get an introduction, and unfortunately the font is kind of small, but you do get wonderful pictures, wonderful artwork in here. There's variety light, you get a list of the cast and the credits of each movie, and here you have here is where all the special features are. And like I said, really small font, and the book's binding is really tight. I'm trying not to damage it, and that's why when I'm going to read off the special features, I'm going to read them off from my computer, because I don't want to, have this bent open for too long. Here's the White Sheik, here's I Vitelloni, and here's La Strada, one of my favorites, like I just said. Knights of Cabiria and La Strada are my two favorites. I know a lot of people go straight to 8.5, which is cool. 8.5, I think, is film school essential viewing. That is one of the most essential movies to ever watch if you want to get into the minutia of film, or if you want to become a filmmaker. That's the movie to watch. Here you have Knights of Cabiria, like I said. Wonderful, wonderful film. I always loved this film. I really love Giulietta Massina, who was a star of a lot of his early films, and she is just phenomenal, wonderfully expressive in several different ways. She just had an ability to utilize her body language and to utilize her facial expressions and just carry herself in such a unique manner. And here you have, once again, more special features and stuff like that. So it goes through all of the films. So let's take a look at the other booklet while we're here. This is the blue booklet, and this is a much more traditional, heavy though, very thick pages and lots of reading material. Once again, something about just his entire career, or at least all of the films in this set here. Here you get all the major essays by a lot of film critics, film historians, people like that. Table of contents. Picture of Federico Fellini. Introduction by Bilge Eberi. Dreams and Reality, Primary Sources by Michelangelo Almereda. Rome and Rimini, Imagined Homes by Colm Toibin. Angels and Demons, Life on Earth by Carol Morley. Women and Men, Tough Love by Stephanie Zacharek. Life and Death, There Is No End by Kogonada. This is just a wonderful, wonderful book here. And this font is much easier on the eyes than the other booklet has. And you get some posters for Amarcord, another favorite for a lot of people, another first for a lot of people. I know my first film was 8.5, and my second, I think, was Amarcord, actually. Those are two movies of his that were released on Blu-ray several years ago, and there's a difference between those releases and the releases that are in this set, but I'll get into all of that. Before I put this booklet away, I just want to show you it all one more time. Here is the front. Here is the back, because it is so beautiful, and here is how it opens, and here are all of the discs. Once again, there are 15 discs, there are 14 feature films, and flipping it over here, one more look at all of these. So now let's do all of the heavy lifting when it comes to all of the special features on each movie. But first things first, there are 11 new 4K restorations for these 14 feature films, and 2 new digital restorations for 2 of the shorter films. And the 2 short films are Toby Dammit from 1968, and also Fellini, A Director's Notebook from 1969. So the first film in the set that you saw was Variety Lights, came out in 1950, and the special features that are on that disc are a 2-hour, 4-part interview with director Federico Fellini by filmmaker André Devaux for Belgian television. This is part 1. There are 4 parts of this spread over several of these movies, so keep that in mind. And there we have Fellini, I'm a Born Liar, which was, I believe, a 2002 documentary that runs an hour and 41 minutes. And that is all that's on that set. So early on, I noticed that some of the early releases or the early movies had very little when it came to special features, and it was more packed into more of his well-known films. So that is important to also know as well. But this does have a new 4K restoration, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Wonderful black and white aesthetic, and it looks leaps and bounds better than probably it's ever looked. And a lot of these restorations were done very, very recently. I'm talking 2019, 2020, so we're talking within the last couple of years, depending on when you're seeing this video. The next film is The White Sheik, and The White Sheik has video interviews with actors Brunella Bovo and Leopold Trieste, and Fellini friend Moraldo Rossi in a short film called Remembrances that runs 31 minutes long. The Gideon Bachman interviews Fellini 1962 for 30 minutes and 44 seconds. Family and Friends, which was from 1962, that runs 59 minutes and 3 seconds. And I believe that actually originally was on the original Amarcord Blu-ray that came out in 2011 and is not on the new Amarcord Blu-ray that is in this set. So they kind of shifted that special feature. And this also had a new 4K restoration from 2019, and it looks absolutely excellent. It is actually in a correct aspect ratio of 1:37:1, and it also really beautiful aesthetic. All of these movies that got these new 4K restorations are going to look gorgeous. That seems to be the case with 4K restorations, is that they always tend to look really, really gorgeous, especially the black and white aesthetic that really tends to shine through. And a lot of these early films are going to look much better than they've ever looked before, because we're talking about old DVDs that probably didn't have the best masters for them, didn't have the best materials to work with, so these are going to be revelatory in many regards. And this film, as well as the first film, has a linear PCM mono track. So next up here is I, Vitelloni, and this is where I started noticing that not all of these, like I said, have new 4K restorations. I believe that this film does not, but it does have a newer restoration. It does have a restoration that was done in 2019, but I don't believe it's a 4K restoration because it doesn't specifically say on the disc itself or in any of the reviews that I've seen. So for special features, this contains The Making of I, Vitelloni, an exclusive documentary featuring interviews with late actor Leopold Trieste, actor Franco Interlenghi, assistant director Moraldo Rossi, Fellini biographer Tullio Kesic, Fellini friend Vincenzo Molica, and director of Fellini Foundation Vittorio Borini. That runs about 35 minutes long. And then Fellini French documentary, which runs 31 minutes long, collection of stills, posters, and memorabilia, original theatrical trailer, and movie newsreels from the time of the film's release. And although this film doesn't have a 4K restoration, it does look absolutely fantastic, and it also has a PCM mono track. Now, after I, Vitelloni, we get to, like I said, one of my favorites, in La Strada. And for La Strada, the special features are an audio commentary by Peter Bondinella, author of Cinema of Federico Fellini, a video introduction by Martin Scorsese, Federico Fellini's autobiography, a 2000 documentary originally broadcast on Italian television that runs 55 minutes long, a trailer, and an optional English dubbed soundtrack featuring the voices of Anthony Quinn and Richard Basehart. This does have a new 4K restoration, which I'm super happy about. It looks absolutely amazing, and I can't recommend this movie enough. It also has a linear PCM mono track in the original Italian language, of course. Next up is Il Bidone, which only has 2 special features, and that is a commentary by Frank Burke, and then something called Dominique Delouche, which runs 39 minutes and 51 seconds long. So that is it for Il Bidone. It does have a new 4K restoration, which I did watch, and it does look very, very good. It does also have a linear PCM mono track in the original Italian language. Unfortunately, I noticed for this film is that what happened with a lot of Italian films, specifically of that time, is that there was dubbing that was done over the lines. When you're watching these movies, specifically this film, I noticed it a lot, is that the dubbing sometimes doesn't match up well with what the actors are saying or when they're saying it, and it became very, very distracting. So keep that in mind when you're watching this movie. So next up is Knights of Cabiria. Like I said, another one of my personal favorites. And for the special features for Knights of Cabiria, we get Giulietta Massini, The Power of a Smile, a 2004 documentary about Fellini's wife and frequent collaborator, which runs 52 minutes long. A 2-hour Part 4 1960 interview with director Federico Fellini by filmmaker André Delvaux for Belgian television, Part 3. So this is Part 3 of that 4-part interview that I was talking to you about. An interview from 1999 with Fellini's assistant director Dominique Delouche, audio interview with Dino De Laurentiis, an original theatrical trailer, and a re-release theatrical trailer. And this, like I said, does have a new 4K restoration. Also, linear PCM mono track in original Italian language. And I also watched Knights of Cabiria, and it does look absolutely amazing. I watched it for the first time a couple of years ago. I think it was streaming on Filmstruck, when Filmstruck was around, and remembering what it looked like on there, comparing it to what it looks like on here, it does look much better on the Blu-ray disc. This is, of course, a brand new restoration, so that really helps a lot. So next up is La Dolce Vita, and La Dolce Vita actually came out a couple of years ago on Blu-ray, and this is the same exact picture and sound quality, and I think it's the same exact special features as well. So let's go over the special features for La Dolce Vita. We get Second Look, which runs 30 minutes and 57 seconds. Once Upon a Time, La Dolce Vita, which runs 52 minutes. New interview with filmmaker Lina Wertmuller, an assistant director on the film. New interview with scholar David Forjak about the period in Italian history when the film was made. A new interview with Italian journalist Antonio Sarno. Interview with director Federico Fellini from 1965. Audio interview with actor Marcello Mastroianni from the early 1960s, which, wow, that runs 47 minutes long. Felliniana, a presentation of La Dolce Vita ephemeral from the collection of Don Young. New visual essay by filmmaker Kogonada. The only thing that's different between the original Blu-ray release from a few years ago and the new disc that's here is you actually get an extra special feature in that second look that runs 30 minutes long. That's not on the original one. That's very interesting to know. See, like I said, sometimes they change things around when it comes to these sets. Unfortunately, what is also a problem, not a problem, but something that needs to be noted about these sets is that the original booklets that would have been in the original Blu-ray releases or DVD releases are not in the set. So that's also really important to know, because maybe you want to hold on to them if you are a completist. 4K restoration that was done for the release that came out in 2014, so it looks exactly the same. This also has a linear PCM Italian track as well. So moving on from La Dolce Vita, we get to another big heavy hitter, and this would be 8.5. And 8.5, like I said, may be the most essential film in this entire essential set. So let's get into what is on this set here. Okay, a lot of special features, so bear with me. First up here is a screen-specific audio essay featuring commentary by film critic and Fellini friend Gideon Bachman and NYU professor of film Antonio Monda. Introduction by Terry Gilliam, director of Brazil and 12 Monkeys. We also get a theatrical trailer, Fellini, a director's notebook, a 52-minute film by Federico Fellini. They did a new digital restoration for that. We get Nino Rota, Between Cinema and Concert, a compelling 48-minute documentary about the maestro behind the music of Fellini's films. Interview with actress Sandra Milo, director Lina Wertmuller, whose career began on the set of 8.5, and cinematographer Vittorio Storaro, who discusses the revolutionary art of Gianni di Vincenzo. Rare photographs from the collection of Gideon Bachman, gallery of behind-the-scenes production photos. And you also get The Last Sequence, a 52-minute documentary on Fellini's lost alternate ending for 8.5. Yeah, I believe this has all of the special features from the original Blu-ray release that came out way back in 2010. But what is different with this disc here, and this is where it gets really important, is this does have a new restoration that was done in 2019. And I'm not sure if it's considered one of those 11 4K restorations or not. I didn't see any of that in any of the reviews I read or on the disc itself when it came to the opening blurb that they have about the restorations, typically with pretty much every Criterion release has those, but I couldn't find any of that. But it is different than the original one from 2010. That is a 10-year-old disc, a 10-year-old release, so it's really nice that they went back and gave it a new restoration. It really makes this set worth getting. I don't know if they're going to re-release that individually on its own. I don't know if they're going to re-release any of these on their own. Perhaps they will. I know some of them, like I said, are just the same exact discs put over here. What I do like, though, is that they actually, as you saw, they gave each disc new artwork, but they also redesigned the disc menus as well when you put it in your player, so all of them look, universally the same when it comes to being part of this set, and they didn't just recycle like extra discs they had from way back when. But like I said, this is a new transfer, and it's a better transfer than the original one. It has better contrast, it has a higher bit rate, and also the new audio soundtrack on the movie was restored as well, and it sounds a lot better than that one did back in 2010. So this is essentially a brand new release of an all-time classic Federico Fellini film. So moving on here, like I said, there's a lot of movies to go through. We get Juliet of the Spirits. And Juliet of the Spirits has the Toby Dammit short film, which runs 43 minutes long. Fellini, A Director's Notebook, which runs 51 minutes long. Fellini's Letter, which are just text screens. Reporter's Diary, Zoom on Fellini, which runs 33 minutes long. Familiar Spirits, Interview with Fellini by Ian Dallas, which runs 21 minutes long. And we get a theatrical trailer. This does have a new 4K restoration, and as well as a linear PCM Italian audio track. The next up is Fellini's Satyricon, and the special features for that are an audio commentary featuring an adaptation of Lynette Hughes' memoir on the set of Fellini's Satyricon, a behind-the-scenes diary, Ciao Federico, Gideon Bachman's hour-long documentary shot on the set of Fellini's Satyricon, which runs an hour long, archival interviews with director Federico Fellini by Gideon Bachman, which are audio only, for French television in 1975. A new interview with cinematographer Giuseppe Rotano. Unfortunately, he actually just passed away as of this recording of this video. So rest in peace to him. He's an all-time cinematographer. Look up his credits and you'll just be astonished about the masterpieces that he worked on. And next up is a new documentary about Fellini's adaptation of Petronius's work, featuring interviews with classicist Luca Canali, a consultant on the film, and Joanna Paul. That runs about 23 minutes long. New interview with photographer Mary Ellen Mark about her experiences on the set and her iconic photographs of Fellini and his film. Felliniana, a presentation of Fellini's Satyricon ephemera from the collection of Don Young, and trailer. And this is, I believe, the exact same release that came out in 2015. That release had a 4K restoration as well. And that also had an LPCM audio Italian mono track. So there's nothing new when it comes to having that disc versus having this disc. The next up here is Roma. And the special features for Roma are audio commentary featuring Frank Burke, author of Fellini's films, deleted scenes, new interview with filmmaker Paolo Sorrentino on the lasting influence of director Federico Fellini, new interview with poet and Fellini friend Valerio Magrelli, images from Felliniana archive of collector Don Young, and a trailer. And the thing with this release is the original release had a 2K restoration, and this also has a 2K restoration, so it is the exact same release that came out in 2016. So nothing different there when it comes to the picture quality, and nothing different when it comes to the audio quality as well. Similar to all of the other releases, you're probably getting tired of me saying this, but this release also has an LPCM audio Italian mono track as well. Next up is considered one of probably Fellini's best films, his most well-known films, right up there with, like I said, 8.5 and La Dolce Vita. And this is Amarcord. And Amarcord is unique for me because, like I said, it's one of the earlier Fellini films I saw. It's also one of the earliest Blu-rays that I ever bought from the Criterion Collection, one of the earliest Criterion movies I ever bought from their collection. It always has a special place in my heart as well as in my collection. But this is going to be unique here for a couple of reasons, but let me get into all the special features first. Audio commentary by film scholars Peter Brunette and Frank Burke, The Secret Diary of Amarcord, 45-minute documentary of Fellini's homecoming on the complicated relationship between the celebrated director, his hometown, and his past, video interview with star Magali Noel, radio spots, deleted scenes, American release trailer, Felliniana, a presentation of ephemera devoted to Amarcord from the collection of Don Young, Fellini's drawings of characters in film. So, the original release, which came out in 2011, like I said earlier, has a special feature that is not on this disc specifically. The audio interview with Fellini, his friends, and family, which runs 59 minutes long, is not on this disc. It is on the White Sheep disc. But what is also unique about this release is that it is a new 4K restoration, and also with this 4K restoration came a new color timing with the film, so the colors don't look like they looked in the original Blu-ray release, and that may be a problem to people who have watched nothing but this release over the last 10 years. They're probably not used to that, but with this release here is that it was supervised by the original cinematographer, so it is kind of the way it's supposed to look. It's not like they just made up a new look for the film on the fly. They did get some type of reference to what the original cinematographer intended, so that's kind of important. We also get a release with a higher bitrate. And like with all the other releases in this set so far, you get the linear PCM Italian mono track. The next film in the set is And the Ship Sails On, and the only special feature is Fellini Racconta, Diary of a Film, which runs 51 minutes long. That's it. This here does have a new restoration that was done in 2019. I don't believe it's a 4K restoration. Nothing that I'm reading says that, or what is said on the disc. So it's probably one of those three that don't have a new 4K restoration on them. This has the same exact audio that the other films had. Last up here is Intervista, and for Intervista, the special features are Fellini's TV, which runs 35 minutes long, Fellini's Story Part 3, A Walk Down Memory Lane, which runs 52 minutes long, an interview about Intervista, which runs 17 minutes long, an audio interview with Marcello Mastroianni, which runs 47 minutes long. And this also, I believe, does not have a 4K restoration, but does have a restoration that was done in 2019, and this also has a linear PCM track in the original Italian language. And that is it for all of the feature films in this set, all the special features on each disc in the set. Like I said, a lot to go through. I'm quite worn out. I also want to mention that, like I said, the 15th disc is a 190-minute long documentary about Marcello Mastroianni. It was done in 1997. So that is it for me here. This has been my exhausting Blu-ray review of the Essential Fellini Blu-ray box set from the Criterion Collection. We went over everything that's in this set here. It is indeed an essential set to have if you are a fan of Federico Fellini, if you are someone who hasn't even gotten into his work yet. The place to start is kind of here. This has everything you want and everything you have for nearly a complete education on Federico Fellini. It is missing several of his work from the 1960s as well as 70s as well as 80s. It doesn't even have his final films in here. Only has really one that he did late in his career, like I said, came out in 1987. But yeah, this is an amazingly large set, but it is a gorgeous, aesthetically beautiful set. It looks great to display, but it doesn't really quite fit on a shelf too well because it is rather large. There is that bit of an issue, so it really all depends on what you prefer. So, if you like this video, please check out the other videos on my channel, as well as subscribing.